Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my co-host Austin the Day Ghost.
Hello. Blah. Vampire.
Ooh, I'm so scared.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't dress for this occasion. I got Sonic the Hedgehog. Although I'm like I don't guess I
Wearing a
have
plain
anything that's
sweater.
especially vampiric.
You should have had like capes with like that.
Nah, just you going blah is good enough.
Yeah, mine was like the dentist guy that plays Bela Lugosi in Plan 9 from Outer Space. Just going.
Sorry, I'm distracted because I just realized that for whatever reason I've got the wrong backdrop here. Let me see if I can fix that because that's going to distract me. There we go. I got the correct backdrop for this show. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us on ReQuest. Tonight we're going to tackle the first 3 episodes of the AMC interview with the Vampire series. Austin, I don't know why I always get the wrong article adjective with this property. I always think it's a vampire, not the, but it's the vampire, even though there are multiple vampires.
Yeah, but it's
Lestat is the, or not Lestat. Louis is the vampire.
Yeah. Well, I always thought because that was like the big thing I knew coming into this, because I've not read the book. I do own it. I haven't read it yet, but
Same here.
and I've not seen the original movie. So
Oh, you haven't? I have, but it's been years, so I don't know it super well. I remember images from that movie.
Yeah.
And I still think it's the. I mean, it's the best performance I've ever seen from Kirsten Dunst, but that's most of what that's most of what I remember
like
from that.
It.
And just like you, I have a really pretty hardcover, but I've never read it.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so like I only knew a couple things, and one of the only things I knew was the vampire Lestat, and obviously I think it's the title of the second book.
Yes.
And so I was assumed he was the vampire being interviewed. And then watching it today, I was like, oh, it's not. Okay. So he's not the vampire.
No.
As I would have thought.
No, he's a vampire.
Yeah.
I want to spoil one of the only things I know about that movie, but I'm not going to. You should see that.
I should. I actually wanted to watch it before watching this today and just didn't get time for it.
So this is not at all fair to this material, but I was consistently distracted by wondering just what was actually pulled from the material and what was original to this, given that the setting is updated, and of course you have the race swap with the main vampire, and I just kept, like, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, what's in the book? I wish I'd read the book. And so, now, having not read the book, it makes it easier to kind of take it on its own terms, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that's nice. Although, since I've seen the movie, I did really miss the original period setting, and it's not bad that necessarily that they changed it. Like it gives it a bit of a different flavor, but it just I kind of missed the 19th century stuff.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I've heard that there's like parts of the book that are in New Orleans. It's like
yes,
some of that is probably from the book, because I think Anne Rice is from New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I actually read up on that a little. I did like 5 minutes of cursory research, like I always do, and I guess he leaves. I forget where he is at the beginning, but I guess after he becomes a vampire, at some point he goes to New Orleans, as opposed to starting there in the first place. And I would imagine that all the explanation of why New Orleans is a nice place for vampires probably comes from the book.
Yeah. But this does a thing, because a lot of the times when we do stuff like this, when we race swap a character, we just do it. This, like, makes it part of the take, and I do really appreciate that, where, like, it is baked into the material of adapting it, where we go, okay, we're changing the main vampire to be a black man, so, like, that's going to have consequences when we go back into the past. So I do like that. I think that's a good choice.
Yeah, you're maybe discussing some things that the original material doesn't as much. Again, I've not read it, so, like, I don't know how much like, and then the period is different, so it's like 100 years before that, or even a little bit earlier, I think. You're not even in a civil war when that starts. So I do wonder how much like racial tensions and things like that are actually tackled in the original material. I could see a fan of that material, and I think a lot of Anne Rice fans actually really like this show, so there's maybe not very much of this. This was really critically acclaimed. It's got a fan base. It's getting a third season. Like, it seems to be performing pretty well. And the related show, because this is a shared universe, it turns out. There's
Yeah,
a
because it's like the Mayfair Witches, I think.
Mayfair
Is that
Witches.
the
That's what.
spin-off?
Thank you. That's what it's called. And that's in the same continuity apparently. And there's a reference in passing in the first episode to the Mayfair Witches, and
Oh, okay.
which I missed, but I read about later. And was,
Yeah.
that's what they're talking about. Yeah, there's like a passing reference to it. That show is not as well liked overall, but is doing well enough that it too is going into, I think, a third season.
Okay.
Or has,
Yeah, that was
or
basically the
I'm
only
not
thing
sure.
I knew about this as a thing was just there was two shows, and I knew people at
I
least
didn't know
really liked
that.
this one and didn't know how people responded to Mayfair Witches, but I knew that there was like two of them going on.
Well, I was just gonna say I could see fans of the original material not loving the update and making it so much more of a modern thing, just because it is taking so many of its plot points and ideas from the original material that this team is obviously capable enough of more directly adapting it. But it doesn't seem like people are having too much of a problem with that. So
Yeah. No, I mean I can see that. Like if you're like I just wanted the book and you didn't give me that, like I can understand that. But I think just as an outsider, I do
yeah,
appreciate that it is like let's make it a part of the show and not just pretend that nothing's up with that. Because
no, it would be ridiculous if you set this in 1910 and you had a main black protagonist and you just swept the race under the rug. I can't think of a good example. I feel like I've seen that done okay in things where it's like we treat it more like a stage play, where it's just this is the guy that we most like the audition for, and like damn what he looks like, and we'll just be kind of colorblind and pretend like you're not actually seeing the person you're seeing. That works on. We do that on stage all the time, and it's harder to buy on screen for, I guess, myriad reasons. But because of that, it's the only thing people would be talking about. You know, if you did it that way, and
no, you definitely can do it that way and have it work. It's just I've seen so many times where it doesn't. So like coming into this, I really appreciated that.
yeah, but but even with that, I guess the couple things I was going to say about that is, first of all,
Yeah.
I that actor is really really good, and
Yeah, yeah, he is.
but
Really well
both of the
cast
mains,
all around.
yeah,
Yeah.
all the way around, but especially both your mains, him and Lestat, and then your kind of grizzled journalist guy is also excellent.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
And then
Yeah.
and then the other thing with that is I it's at least not like coming in and completely changing the mission statement, where like that relationship is still, from what I know anyway, more or less what the original material is, and Lestat is still this great like master manipulator, and so it's not like I replacing all of the thematic and character stuff with something else so that it can just make some grand statement about race or something. Like it sets it in that period, and like you can argue like if they did that because there was a big statement they wanted to make, but and like that's the only reason it's there, but it's handled pretty thoughtfully, so I guess I don't mind it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's just they had a specific take they wanted to do, and they just went for it. And obviously, it's not like the entire show, like you said. It is kind of just that main relationship is the main core of it. But then that's also a big section of it as well.
They make his affluence pretty plausible, and I like how deeply flawed the man is in the first place, and like he's like simultaneously like sympathetic, I so like you see why he took the career path he did, and he's not happy about it. In we haven't set this up, but he is running like a prostitution ring and then a brothel, and his family used to be in sugar, and they can't do that anymore because of Jim Crow laws and stuff, and so he's got to do whatever he can to keep his family fed, and so he just happens to have chosen a profession that makes him quite wealthy, but there are a lot of consequences for that, and it's kind of its own deal with the devil, really, where he's obviously like deeply unhappy with all the moral compromises that he's had to make, and then in so doing he just makes like mistake after mistake after mistake up until he ends up becoming a vampire. And it has all the standard trappings of a gothic romance and gothic horror, where like everybody is like it's I think the genre is basically melodrama, where these characters are pretty heightened and over the top, and they're not like exactly real people, but they're like pretty complex, and so there is a pretty good like character study here, but it's like, you know, juicy and melodramatic intentionally, and so these characters are, I was gonna say, they're all kind of like awful people, but like there's things about them that make them likable and interesting to watch a show about or to read about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, 'cause, like, I would say it's more like melodramatic than say like gothic. Like, I don't think, especially visually, it's very gothic, but uh, like it is very melodramatic, and like not in a bad way. Like that's just like what it is, and I think it does a good job with that.
Well, and that was one of the things I wanted more from it in the first place, honestly, was to look more gothic. And then the problem is partly the setting, is you're like, how gothic can you make New Orleans in the early 1900s look? And like there is there is a panache to the way it's shot. I think like it's got a good sense of style. It's not generic, but I agree with you. Like it's the atmosphere is not what I would describe as gothic, but the material on the page is that. Like that's
fair.
That's what they're drawing from.
Yeah. No, I'd say overall, for the most part, the show looks really good. There's like a couple of green screen things here and there where I'm like, oh,
sure,
that doesn't look great, but I mean, it's everything now. But for the most part, I think it looks really good.
Yeah, did you think it was pretty consistently shot in like the you know, cinematography and everything through the first 3 episodes? Because I know the first 2 are shot by the same director, and then I think it changes in 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. And obviously, I mean, it helps that the first 2 are the same guy. But I think even when you switch over, it's still pretty consistent.
It's almost too late for this, but Austin, do your best to give us a little bit of a synopsis to give us a context for the rest of our conversation.
Okay. So we have a journalist who's going to have a interview with the titular vampire, and
but like for the second time, like a do-over.
Yeah.
Which
exactly.
Which was an odd choice. We can come back to this, but I'm not 100% sure why that choice seemed necessary. It wins me over on it more by the 3rd episode, when we start comparing the old tapes and you have kind of an unreliable narrator thing going on. Like, that's really interesting. But just from the start, I thought that was like a really odd, perplexing choice.
Yeah. And I wondered if that was specifically for the show or if that's from the source, because I'm not sure. I feel like that's something you would add when doing a TV show, but I could be wrong.
It screamed in the moment, and then it isn't exactly this because it takes place so much later than, at least from the start, as the original material does. But it played to me like an unnecessary excuse for an update where it's like, well, let's start where it would have originally started and then jump ahead and do almost like a spiritual, like meta sequel. But like, it isn't that exactly because the original material isn't set in the 1900s.
No, in that way, it reminds me of the two new movies where we updated it to now so that the past takes place in the 80s when before it was the 80s and the 50s. So it reminded me of that, where we just kind of pushed up the timeline.
Yeah. But anyway, what else happens?
Yeah. So, yes, they have their interview, and we learn about how he was courted by the vampire Lestat from the titular, that second one. And yeah, and we get to see their romance bloom and how he turns our main vampire here into a vampire, and then the shenanigans they have of, well, you made me a vampire, this kind of sucks, I don't know that I want to kill people, and all that good stuff. And just here's all the powers you get. And as we were kind of talking about beforehand, he's also a black man that is a business owner in 1910. And there's a bunch of stuff like that with racism going around, specifically caused by John DiMaggio, who I don't think I've ever seen act in live action. And he doesn't sound especially like John DiMaggio.
I was shocked to find out that's who that was. I didn't know that until after the fact.
Yeah, Sam.
Rumsky actually just put in a super chat. So this is the guy who made the request in the first place. Thanks for being here live. But yeah, that's Joe Turner, which I should have said at the start, and I forgot to do that. But his super chat, he says, honestly, I have a hard time taking Cruz and Pitt seriously after the show. Fantastic new actors. Did you notice the racist alderman was John Maggio? And as we just said, initially, I did not. I had no idea.
No, I mean, it also helps he's got like these big mutton chops.
He's got that giant beard, yeah. Well,
I would have thought I would have like keyed into it hearing his voice, but like he's not doing like a very John DiMaggio-y kind of voice. Like I'm so used to him basically playing Bender, and
which is
I love him, so I don't care.
Which is ironic because we talk all the time in animated stuff about how John DiMaggio cannot hide his voice. Like, we always know it's him. It's like he does the Joker. We're like, obviously, that's John DiMaggio. And then we're watching this, and it doesn't jump out to either of us. We're like, okay, so you're telling me that you can only voice modulate when you're in live action behind a beard?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And when he's being racist.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he's like, I can't have Bender be racist. What will the kids think?
I like that stuff's not laid on like cartoonishly thick. And again, even though this is a bit of a melodrama, I do like that we're thoughtful enough with that kind of stuff where we see like different characters with different feelings and opinions about all of that. And so you have what the kind of standard what's the word I'm looking for, like policies and assumptions are like in general, and how that's affecting like rules and regulations and people's attitudes about it. But like different characters are of different ethnicities are allowed to have different feelings about it, and that's good.
Yeah, I mean, in that way, there was moments where it was giving me flashes of Sinners, the movie from last year, and obviously like brought down to like a TV budget, but in that way I thought it was kind of interesting.
For TV though, I think it looks cinematic enough.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like we're doing some fun things with camera placement and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now I will complain, and this isn't fair. I wish a thing like this was shot on film.
I mean, that's fair.
I mean, what are you gonna
I've
do?
definitely complained about stuff like that, so that's fair.
It would give it a little bit more of a the period stuff. At least it would give it a little bit more visual authenticity. I think if you could shoot it in, if you could afford to do that. And could you imagine a show like this where all the present day stuff is digital and then it becomes film when you flash back? Like, that'd be really cool.
That'd be cool, yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm glad they didn't do a filter. I guess like you could have had
Yeah.
the worst of both worlds. Then you have like a grainy filter over
Or
all
even, or even
past.
alternatively, some kind of irritating present day filter to make everything feel more dystopian, like in the
That's
present
true
day.
too.
Because there is this kind of undercurrent of in the present day things aren't any better than they are in the past, or they're like bad in different ways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
of
and I also
course.
wonder.
Because we're making a big deal out of the pandemic at the beginning. This may have been one of the first shows that just deliberately makes a plot point out of that, because I was not that I watch a lot of new TV these days, because a lot of stuff just doesn't really appeal to me or hit me. I'll watch like a pilot of something and go, I don't know. I can't get it. A lot of streaming stuff I have that with. But and I will be honest with you, this pilot was fine. I don't know that I would have continued past it, and it won me over a lot more after the second, and especially third episode. And I will probably at least finish this first season at this point. I'm glad I ended up watching more of it, because the pilot itself wouldn't have quite sold me. Like it's good, but I was a lot more invested by 3.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, I was gonna say with that. Oh yeah, with the pandemic thing, I did wonder because it's so, like, it's important, but it's also so kind of in passing in a way that I did wonder. I was like, okay, we're about to start filming. This, I think this comes out in 2021, so probably was filming more in 2020. So I did kind of wonder if they just kind of went, like we can throw this in quickly at the beginning, where it's like, you came here when we're in a pandemic. And then obviously
see,
you're filming, so like you can incorporate the masks.
that's what I thought too, until they started talking about. I think it was in episode 3, the Great Conversion, and that the pandemic was part of that. And it's possible that idea was there even before the pandemic was happening. That just like the world has changed so much and people are so politically divided, and that like in lots of ways I can see you making the case that like things are so politically volatile that now's the time for vampires to do that. But the pandemic like really hits that over the park. It makes that like the or out of the park, I should say, makes that kind of the perfect time to do that. And so I wonder, as you continue through the show, just how much more you'll find out about that, and if any like major plot stuff will end up happening in the present day, or if that will play mostly as a framing device like it does in the book, and then and the original movie. And then you'll just occasionally, like you said, in passing, learn some things about what modern vampires are doing. A society of which, by the way, our main vampire, Louis, is not a part of at all. Like, he's not interested in that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why he can be the vampire that gets interviewed. Those other ones probably don't want to do this.
Well, no, certainly not. They wouldn't want anybody to know about them. Or it would be
exactly.
It would be very difficult to hide in plain sight and then take over without firing a shot.
But yeah, so I definitely wondered about that with the pandemic. Like if it was just like a pretty easy rewrite beforehand. Like I wonder how in development this was before that.
Yeah, if that's the case, it's nice that they peppered it in, and that it wasn't just mentioned in that first episode, because that's what I kind of thought they were doing.
Yeah,
initially,
no,
when
I wondered that for
when
a
it came
second.
up again, I was really kind of surprised.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. No, I'm glad that it continues to come up because, it should. And yeah, it wasn't even like it was a jarring thing. It was just in the moment I was like, this is so early into all of that stuff. I'm like, there's no way this started with that.
I there are some things that I was really happy, and I didn't think this was a given. Like overall, I the show was quite a bit better written than I expected. I've got complaints, but like in general, I think the writing is pretty good. I like that with the early 1900s stuff. There are major parts of life that, because of modern sensibilities, we sometimes will kind of sweep under the rug or not talk about. That this does not have that, and this does not have that problem. So, like, I really like that there's a lot of religion in this. Like, we're not afraid of that. And in a like traditional Anne Rice vampire thing, you can't stray away from religion. And I was kind of worried this might do that.
Yeah, you can't stray away from religion in a vampire thing. Then you become the new Exorcist, where we're like trying to distance the Christianity stuff, and it's like, dude, look at what you're making.
One, maybe this isn't fair, but because of some of the ways that it is very modern, or at least tackling some issues that come up a lot more often in a lot of present day stuff, I was a little worried about some of the stuff that it might shy away from, and it didn't do
Yeah.
that. I doesn't shy away from nudity either. That kind of surprised me. Wasn't afraid of doing that.
Yeah, because I never remember, because I've not seen a ton of AMC shows, so I never remember like.
And I'm not saying like
like
yay nudity. I'm just saying like it
No, we
takes.
all know you were like yes.
No, but it's taking risks. It's not afraid of that kind of stuff. And this material, back in the day, like if this was made in the 70s, you'd have a topless shot every other scene probably. So like. I'm not saying yay for that. I'm just saying it's nice that they're not, if they want to do that, they're not scared of it, and that's good. Yeah, AMC, I guess you're allowed to do that. There are certain shows that curiously don't go there, even though they're otherwise very adult and vulgar and explicit. Like Walking Dead doesn't go to nudity, but I don't know why. I don't know why not, given everything else that show does.
Exactly. We're not cracking out the maracas for The Walking Dead because we don't get nudity when we watch it. Boo. But no, because we get that like pretty quickly in the first episode. So I also had to go, oh, okay. I didn't know we could go there. And it's not even just women. Like we do with men too. Not full frontal nudity, but nudity all the same.
I mean, if you're gonna do a very explicit show that's about sex, it's appropriate that there's some nakedness, I guess. But I also like that it's not obnoxious, and like it doesn't turn into porn or anything.
Well, I was thinking about that because stick with me here because it's gonna start awkward. I was at a family dinner and they were talking about I don't know, some new hockey romance show, and
and your brother just pulled out a rat and started eating it. You're like, that's weird. What are you doing then?
No, my sister was like, I don't know, it's kind of awkward. It's like 80% sex scenes and like none of it adds anything. And everyone's like, all my siblings were like, yeah, that stuff makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to see it. Like they're in that side of modern entertainment, which I don't have, but whatever. And I was thinking about that while watching this because I was like, you literally can't cut that. Like that is so important to the story. And like you said, it's not gratuitous. Like it just has to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, at the very least, it's not any more gratuitous than it has to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I tell you my biggest complaint? And I don't know if you'll have this. But my big thing is there is, I think, a bit of an inconsistency, and it's really odd the way in which it's inconsistent. I think there's an inconsistency in language in the 1900s. where
I
about
knew that was going to be your biggest issue.
about 80% of the time it reads very authentic to me. And if you wanted to make a thing that was, and like, I don't prefer this myself, but if you wanted to go real heightened to the point where you go, especially if the material's not dumbed down, where you wanted to go, we're going to consistently let characters talk a little bit less formally and a little bit more like they do now, and you made it clear that that was like the rules of your world. Like, okay, I don't love that, but like you can do that. That's not what this is doing. This settles you in from the very start, when the interview begins, that this guy talks like he's turn of last century, and he talks like he's written like 3-page formal letters to his family every day of his life, like you would, in like circa Civil War or something. Like he talks like that. And then some of the more vulgar language, I just don't buy how much we're throwing. Even in a brothel, I'm not totally buying it. But more than that, there are some just modern 21st century phrases and ways of delivering dialogue that you just wouldn't have had then, that I found very distracting. There's a bruh in there. I can't deal with that. And then there's a
classic Shakespearean English,
and then there's a place where he's asked something, and look, I'm dancing around this a little bit. Why is my camera flickering? I'm dancing around this a little bit. I'm not gonna complain that there is like an ethnic way of speaking that the black characters have, because that's pure. You would have that, but there are places where it's just too modern. Like, he's asked something and he says "nah," like the very modern, present day way you'll hear a lot of people, especially certain black people, "nah," not in 1910. Like, I'm not buying that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely lines that kind of jumped out at me. I missed bruh, though. I don't know how I missed that.
There is a bra. Yeah, that was weird.
Bruh, what are we doing? At least we didn't get fam in there.
There's also some sloppy stuff in the writing here and there, which again jumps out more because the show overall is better than this. It was almost like occasionally some lesser writer came in for like a couple of lines. It was weird. I don't know if this bugged you, but there's a place in, I think, the second episode where Lestat is explaining how the telepathy works, and he's talking about how when you read humans, he's, and this is interesting with his character. He talks about how like boring he finds human beings, which is of course is a giant difference in their worldview. That one of them wants to basically just live like animals and consume as they want to. I mean, obviously he's got to be more strategic about it than that, but overall it's like, this is our nature, we should just embrace it. And then Louise' whole thing is, no, I still want to be human, and I'm resisting vampirism every step of the way. And then more and more he's finding that he cannot fully resist that, but even up to the present day, in 2022, he resists a lot of things about it. He wants to be civilized. And anyway, so Lestat is complaining about how humans are boring, and they only ever think about 3 things. And I'll see if I can remember the 3 things. But one of them is it's food, it's sex, and it's going home. And those are the 3 things. And so they're walking amongst people in the street, and like one at a time, each person thinks the thing that he just said in the exact order he said it in. And when the third one, Lestat's or Louise, like, they gotta both start with the same letter. Louise, like, no, see, he's not gonna say the thing. He's not gonna say home, and then the guy says home in his mind. He's like, "Ah, crap, you got me," right? Okay, So that's already a little silly. It's like exactly in that order. And then the very next scene, Louis starts using his telepathy on a human being, and it's none of those three things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
throughout,
I don't think
I keep
it ever is
waiting
after that.
for sex, food, or home, and it never comes up again.
I was waiting for that with DiMaggio when he's reading his mind and he's just being racist. I'm like, I want him to just be like, oh man, these black people, I wish I could go home.
There's some places where it gets really on the nose like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I just think the show is usually a little bit better than that. And I will say, if it was written like that all the way through, I would have really had a hard time getting through the pilot, because that's the kind of stuff that turns me off to a lot of modern television. I mean, we just don't even try. Like, we lazily go for the sensibilities in sentiment, and no sense of historical perspective. And this is 80% of the time better than that.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe says, I had this too. I also had this one. He says, Louis busting out queer in the early 1900s seemed odd, though I'm no linguist. Yeah, that one is odd. There's another place where he mentions a corner gas station. And I was like, no. Like, yes, they have a car. We're at the earliest automobiles, okay? Like, there's a 6-year time jump, so okay, you're at 1916 at that point. Oh, all right. Maybe it's 1917. It's not gonna be like normal vernacular to say corner gas station. Most people are still on horses. No.
Lestat, bro, you want to come down to the corner store with me to get a Pepsi?
Let's go be queer together at the corner gas station.
What an unfortunate spot. Not even from back then, just in general.
Just in general.
Have higher standards.
So yeah, there's just some places where I think, like, again, just modern assumptions and expectations are getting in the way a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know if more research was needed, or if there are some people on this maybe this is not fair and mean, but like maybe there's some people on this writing staff that need to just in general do more reading. Like, I don't know, but there's certain words that, like, if I'm catching it, like, I either don't know enough or it's really a problem.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's definitely hard. So, like, I get it, but at the same time, we shouldn't be, taken out in places.
Yeah.
Especially when like you said, for the most part, it's consistent. It's just now and then.
Yeah, and they get away with talking a lot more about explicit homosexuality because of the present day framing device, where if they were discussing it like that as much in the 1900s, I would more than raise an eyebrow, where I'd be like, well sure, like, in back rooms and stuff, I'm not saying that they shouldn't deal with that topic at all, and that wasn't a thing back then. I'm not saying that, but some of the way that they're openly discussing it, you can't do in that time period. So they managed that okay, and that's stuff that's like a lot more explicit here than I would assume it even is in the novel. The movie really skirts around it. But I always liked that being really subtle and being a thing that is clearly there, but nobody's talking about it, and then we can use the vampirism as a little bit more of a metaphor for it by just having it implied as opposed to just be, like, explicitly thrown at you. But it works. It's okay. I'm just glad you have that framing device, or it really wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't read it, but I've always heard Anne Rice is kind of the big start of the how do I want to put this? Like, just like, I always like the sexual vampire. You can read farther back, but like more explicitly and more just like about those kinds of romances. So like, I imagine it's probably at least somewhat explicit in the books. Um, Well, I was just thinking too with that, in terms of the modern day thing, that could have been your out. Like, you maybe could have ridden those, moments and lines that don't fit, and then the journalist is like, "Hey, uh, you said bruh in 1910 like that. That's not what you actually
What a
said."
great point. Well, and they could easily cover their bases if I were to
In a
ask them
later
about this
episode.
by claim like it, but like if I was interviewing one of these writers, they could easily cover their ass, right? By saying, "Oh, well, the whole thing's unreliable narrator," and so like he's telling I this is a cop out, right? But like you could claim this where it's like he's telling the interviewer this story and he's using modern vernacular, and so in the flashbacks our characters are doing that, but it's not very consistent, and so I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think that that's actually intentional. But the fact that it is unreliable narrator, you're right. If you told us in those places that's what it was, absolutely. But the problem is when it comes up, like that would never happen, Austin, because when it comes up, I don't think they know it's inauthentic.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you were to throw that argument out, I would say I disagree just to the extent that if it were intentional, the journalist character, especially because he's a writer, should be able to pick up on stuff like that.
And
It's like
there's
it should
places
come
where
up.
he stops everything and he's like, "That's not what you said last time."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I
That,
mean, you could also, like I said, come back in another episode. Probably not. I wouldn't think in a like past like another season. It should be
yeah,
in a season one, but like it could possibly happen. I'm guessing it probably doesn't in season one, but like
probably not.
it could.
I love everything the show is saying about, or at least the way it's exploring so far, I should say, the idea of like perception of memory and faulty memory and and like kind of twisting the truth for your own purposes and that kind of thing where it gets very complicated trying to guess at how much of the story we're seeing really happened and how much of it is embellished and and then I wonder if we'll ever get much of a sense of like retroactively what parts of it are not exactly true, and how much of the original interview might actually contain real information that this interview does not, because we don't actually know which one is closer to the truth so far. Like, and a lot of it's an attitude, right? Like initially he's in the first interview in the 70s, he's very dismissive of Lestat, and now he romanticizes Lestat. Why has that changed? So just curious questions, but also your attitude about your past tends to change the older you get, and I really like the idea that that isn't different regardless of immortality.
Yeah, like he's nostalgic about it.
And like, why is he more
No, I
nostalgic
thought that
about
was
it
really
now?
interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also one of the better examples I've seen of dealing with characters from your, for lack of a better term, first life, realizing that you're not aging. I really like how that's handled in the third episode. When he comes back home and all of his family is got we have a bit of a time jump, and all of his family is a bit older than the last time we saw them, and he's not aging, and everybody's picking up on it, and his mother is freaking out on him, and like basically knows he's a vampire, or at least knows that he's made some kind of demonic deal, and he's got supernatural qualities. I thought that was handled super well, and the bit where he breaks the door down to give his nieces a gift, like that whole thing was really sad and visceral. I like that scene a lot.
Yeah. So I really like all the stuff with his family. I will say though, the scene after that, after he breaks down the door and he goes back and yells at Lestat, um, I thought was kind of unintentionally funny, and like it's acted well, and I think it's written well, but the music in it is like the music you play at like the Oscar clip moment, and it like really
That's
took me
funny.
out.
So overall, I like the score quite a bit, but there are places where it goes too far.
Yeah, and that was a big one for me. Like it really took me out. And you know me, like I'm like the last person to comment on score. Most of it washes over me. But I was like, oh, that was not the right music choice for this in.
Well, a lot of this is the kind of drippy string stuff and quite a bit of piano too that you would expect for a period piece like this, and it speaks to, but like, or artistically done, but some places just a little too over the top. It's like you're pounding
Yeah.
me over the head with how much of a melodrama this is, and like I'm aware, like I get it. You don't have to go quite that far, but also speaks a lot to Lestat's affinity for the opera, and I think the way the operatic music is kind of interwoven with that is really good, and I like that we lean more on orchestral than we do on popular music, even though there is a decent amount of turn of the century jazz and like I don't know if I want to say vaudevillian type stuff, but just like popular music of the time. And we lean more on the orchestral side. But when that stuff comes up, like they've really done their cultural research on music from that period, because it's a bunch of stuff that I don't immediately recognize. So they're not going to just the absolute most obvious melodies. And there's a couple places where like you'll walk in on a party and people are breaking out into song, and like none of it's stuff I've ever heard before.
Yeah, no, all of that stuff is really good, and we do a lot of it. We do a lot of, especially like you said, like we're at parties and there's music playing, or like Lestat will get into like a piano off with
That
a
was
man,
awesome.
or
Yeah, that bit was
when
great.
they were both sitting at the piano for a second, I thought they were gonna do like a full like Daffy Duck versus Donald Duck piano off moment. I was like, where are we going with this?
Well, I was going to ask you if you had the sense of tension that I did in that scene, because I thought that guy was toast.
Oh, I definitely thought that guy was dead.
And then the explanation for why he dressed him down was awesome, because Lestat is such a manipulator that you get both sides of it. So in the previous episode, you get him going after and murdering a tenor in an opera who sings flat. That was one of my favorite parts. Was when he goes after that guy, because people like that deserve to be killed by vampires. I thought
that part was so sad.
That was no.
I felt so bad for that guy.
I'm joking. I'm totally joking. I did too.
No,
but no one should have to sit through a performance like that. I understood where Lestat was coming from. No, I'm kidding. And then so he kills that guy just because he feels empowered by doing that. Like he only seems to respect, like he looks at humans as food unless they're master performers, and then he respects them. And so because he seems to care about art, and so he will keep people alive who add something to the culture, and that guy in his mind deserved to die because he detracted from the culture. I thought that was great. And then that third episode, and that guy deserved to die. That third episode, he does the opposite, where he is manipulating the guy that he dresses down for not playing the piano passionately. He says they're at their club that they've owned for a while now, that they're actually about to lose, and the way that's all handled, I think, is really good with the riots and stuff at the end. But anyway, they're listening to him play, and Lestat dresses him down, and then because he says he's not playing passionately enough, and then he goes and plays piano with him, and then we find out right after that the reason he did that was not because the guy has been playing piano poorly, but because Lestat overheard him being kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like somebody offers him a part in a band or something, and he's like, "Oh, I've got to try to keep him." And so he does that whole song and dance to get the guy to stay. And so you get the other side of it. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of good stuff with music. And
and just a lot of really good examples of how Lestat manipulates people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that actor is really good at doing all that stuff, and just the ways in which he'll act kind of flippant about things. Like in that episode, you have the whole, he's like, I like to sleep around, it's cool. You don't gotta be jealous about it. And then he freaks out.
And then he gets
at
very
him
jealous.
for also sleeping with somebody, yeah.
Yep.
And he plays all of that really well as well.
And I like the kind of I like. Sorry, I was looking at the super chat. I'll read that in a second. But I like the kind of pointless distinction he makes, where like he'll say things where he's even manipulating me, the audience member, for a second. Where I'm like, I see where he's coming from. Wait a minute, I see what you're doing. Where he sleeps with just some chick he claims not to care about, but he is allowed to be jealous of his vampire lover guy because he slept with a guy that he actually cares about. And that's bad.
Yeah. Even though he was also like, this girl's great, she likes music. I love it.
So you can kind of see the distinction.
No, of course.
I like that Joe had us watch the first 3 episodes because we get the initial, very quick introduction of Claudia at the end, who's this version's little girl vampire. They've aged her up in this.
Okay.
Originally, she's like 9, 10, maybe 11. I think she's supposed to be a teenager in this. We only get a glimpse of her at the end of the fire. I think that's who that's supposed to be. But it's interesting that, and I don't know how it's handled, again, a broken record, I just haven't read the book. I don't know how it's handled there. I can't remember how it's handled in the movie. So I don't know if in the original material, Louis finds her, or if it's Lestat or the both of them together, but it's Lestat that turns her, I think. And then there's sort of like a weird, almost, I don't want to say love triangle, but kind of a triangle between them, where he starts putting his attentions more on her as a protege, and Louis doesn't like that, and so that's where all that has to go eventually. But I thought it was interesting that he's the one that finds her.
Yeah, and given how the stuff usually goes, I'm gonna guess she's probably younger in the book, made older in the movie, and then you said she's even older in this. I'm gonna guess it's like a jumping point like that.
According to Joe, you're exactly right. He says 6 in the book, 11 in the film, 14 in the show. If this is ever made again, she'll be old enough to drink before she's a vampire.
Eventually, Aunt May will be 6 in a Spider-Man movie, and this character will be
79 years old,
making wheat cakes. Exactly.
I like the episode structure with this show. It would be really easy to have the modern. I don't know. This is AMC. Is it just streaming or is it actually broadcast? If it's AMC, I'm assuming it's being broadcast.
I assume it's also being broadcast, yeah.
Well, then I should only watch shows that are broadcast, because that's not fair. I'm sure there's still decent streaming things happening, but I haven't watched that new Vince Gilligan show that everybody and his dog keeps telling me to watch. But
yeah, I keep meaning to check that out.
I just don't want to have to pay for Apple.
That's fair.
I think it's on Apple. But anyway, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but if you want to try this show out on our recommendation, I think we're both recommending this.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Like I said, I liked it a lot more as I went. But I think after 3, I would solidly recommend this. I think.
I think that's fair.
But there were things that I got off on the wrong foot with it a little bit, because there were things that just immediately turned me off with my very innocent sensibilities. Where you're like 15 minutes in, and the very first scene you have with a flashback is just gross, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch this show. And that was not completely indicative of the whole show, and I think the fact that it was gross was on purpose, just to give you a sense of how awful this guy's business is that he's gotten himself into to get rich. But
oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to remember. I was almost gonna have to ask you, and then suddenly, just as you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I don't
really want to talk about that, but. In hindsight, I get why it's there. I'm okay with it, but I was off on the wrong foot with it a little bit because of that kind of thing. Because I'm like,
exactly.
If that's going to be gratuitous, and we decided that just that as a thing is entertaining, I'm out. Like, I don't need that.
For the audience, the only context I will give is a man wanted Birdo but got piranha plant.
Oh my God, that's. Somebody clipped that out of context. That's wonderful. Anyway, what were we talking about?
What were we talking about? Oh, you were saying something about if you want to watch this.
Oh, thank you, God, because I never would have gotten back to that. It is on Netflix right now in the States.
Okay. Yeah, and it's on Crave here. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix as well.
I thought I was going to have to pay for AMC, but it's on Netflix, which is... I guess that makes sense, because, like, Walking Dead's on Netflix, so I guess they must have a deal with AMC, and they get a lot of things there. But AMC also has their own streaming service, so I was surprised by that.
Yeah. Who knows why these madmen do what they do.
Dude, well, they don't know half the time, is the thing. There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of this stuff.
No, it's very bizarre.
Like, modern media is just run by the Joker. I don't think anybody would dispute me on this.
No, probably not. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure this is a broadcast show. I think both this and the Witches one are.
Yeah, that's good. So I was gonna say I would be concerned that you wouldn't get the structure that you get with the show if it wasn't broadcast. So much of the writing with streaming shows these days, I keep hearing more and more about this, is apparently mandated to go alongside like algorithm and information that streaming services get for watch times and like when people like tune out of a show. And so you have certain things that have to happen at certain minute numbers to keep people staying in the thing. And you have that to some degree going all the way back with broadcast, because you have to have exciting cliffhangers right before a commercial break. Like, in some ways, everything has changed, and in some ways, nothing has changed. But one of the problems that you have with streaming is there are a lot of shows that, not everything is this way, but there are a lot of shows that don't really give you definitive singular episodes anymore. That it just feels like there's no rhyme or reason as to when a chapter will start and the next chapter or will stop and the next chapter starts. Where it just seems really arbitrary much of the time. And this show is obviously more like chapters in a novel than it is and you know, it's obviously very serialized than it is one-off episodes. But I do like that there's more or less kind of a beginning, middle, and end, and that there is clear chapter breaks. So thematically, I think each episode so far, anyway, we've only watched 3, but 3 does a pattern make. So I don't know if it continues past this, but the first 3 episodes anyway watch like stages of vampirism, stages of Louis' experience as a vampire. In each episode, he comes to a little bit of a different place in his evolution. And like how he's going to operate, and they kind of watch like stages of grief, really. And so you've got that bit at the beginning of episode 3 that you alluded to earlier, Austin, where he's kind of trying to do the Dexter thing, and of course that doesn't work out. But he's like, oh, let's just only kill the bad people. And then he decides that he really just doesn't want to kill people at all, and so he's kind of fumbling around each episode trying to figure out how he's going to cope with the fact that he's a vampire now and really doesn't want to be. And I think that there's kind of like clear points of change with him through each episode.
Mm-hmm. No, there definitely is. I think that's like one of the like smaller or like just kind of issues I had in that. In order to get that, I do feel like the show is a little padded. We're like watching it, like I do have scenes kind of run long, and when I said to you off camera, like I feel like I can tell watching this that it's a TV show based off a smaller book, where I'm like, there's just kind of moments that I think just kind of take too long, and I'm like, I didn't really need to like live with this. Just certain moments, as long as they do, and I think that's part of it. And I didn't even think about it in that way, but I think that's kind of part of it is just fitting that episode structure. Like it kind of feels like it's padded to hit those run times.
Yeah, I don't actually disagree with that, but I do appreciate that it's not arbitrary. You know,
yeah, no, and I agree with that. I agree with that. I just hadn't thrown that point out yet, so I was like, that's a good place to jump off of that.
No, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like, there's this kind of difficult balance where you don't want things to be too formulaic, but I also want a TV show to be a TV show. Yeah, I really appreciate that this is actually a TV show and not a 7-hour movie, and that makes me happy.
No, that is great. I am glad about that. Especially because, like, streaming TV, I think, has just gotten so tired in that way, where, again, it's just a 13-hour-long movie, so I don't know, it's lost a lot of that allure for watching a show.
Sometimes it just feels like kind of a waste of time, and you can see where all the cuts should have been. Where you're like, well, I can make a 2-hour movie out of what you have. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if people have done that with things. You know, like like do a fan edit where you can improve greatly on a TV show by making it a movie.
Somebody has definitely done that with every single MCU show.
Yeah,
I guarantee.
I don't think it's hard. And I'm including Netflix in that. With the exception of only a couple of seasons. I think you can do that with most of even that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't have that issue with like the Mike Flanagan shows on Netflix, but a lot of other shows I've seen on Netflix I do have that with, Yeah,
and even ones I like the first season of Punisher is not terrible. Like I like that show okay. You can't tell me you can't turn that into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. I mean, Punisher is a hard character to make a 13-hour-long thing where he's on one plot.
Yeah,
there's very little.
Well, I was gonna say like
people.
I know how you do that. You let him go on different adventures, even if they're all 2-parters. Okay, do 6 stories.
Yeah, no, that show should have been at the most like 4-episode chunks, but they were also scared to make a Punisher show, so...
And it shows. Joe, $5 super chat again. Thanks a lot for all the support tonight, man. He says, thoughts on Daniel. I think him being a smarmy old man is inspired. His sarcasm helps cut through the interview getting too caught up in its own drama. I do like that character a lot. I didn't have the same feeling about it, where because the way you're describing it, it's almost like he provides some comic relief, which I guess there's some kind of dry levity with that character. But I found him to bring a whole other kind of drama to it, actually.
Yeah, he kind of fits both roles because he and the titular vampire are having their own kind of drama in the moment.
Yeah.
But he's also, like Rumsky said, just very sarcastic and dry and very flippant about things.
Yeah, and really cynical.
Yes, very cynical.
And so there's a whole, like, social commentary about modern journalism and, like, just what's happened to society going on with him that I think really anchors the show and gives you a sense of context for, like, the, 100+ years of history that you're getting in between.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it was interesting starting with him with like his commercial for his like journalism thing.
Yeah, that was interesting. I agreed with all of that. where he pulls out his phone and it's like, thanks to this, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm curious to know, like, how much more we learn about that guy. I want to know just what exactly was going on with him when he originally did the interview. Like, he made all these mistakes because he claims to have been high. It must be more complicated than that. Or at least I would think that it is. And there's an inference that he tried to get Louis to turn him, and that's the reason that they that like he fed on him and then ran off, and then they never saw each other again, and so like I kind of want to know more about that.
Well, I'm just with this being a multi-season show, I'm interested to see like, is there like a distinct season cutoff where like they maybe stop having an interview for a minute and then they come back, or is it like a How I Met Your Mother type situation where it's just we just keep going, like each season is just still this one interview? Like, I'm interested to see like how that would work.
Yeah.
It's like
well, and considering that the interview is taking place in different locations, I could see a time jump even from the interview where you could contrive some reason to have some time in between.
Yeah, or it could even be like, this is like the first day of the interview and that's season 1, and then maybe he comes back like the next day or something, because like all of what we saw is definitely only in a couple of hours maybe.
Well, and the only thing I know, well, that's not true, because we have like 2 locations for interview. You have I think, right? Like in
I thought
episode
they just like
2,
went from room to room, but I could be wrong.
I thought that was another day, but maybe you're right. Maybe that is just another room. But I thought you had like the dinner interview, and then like they break, and then at some point they come back together in that room. But I watched these in
I assume
rapid
they just kind
succession.
of went. Yeah, same.
Joe can tell us. You might be right about that. I'm not sure, honestly.
No, I could be completely wrong.
Help us out, Joe. He probably knows. The only thing I know about season 2 is that it chronicles Lestat's period being a rock musician.
Okay.
Because I know that's in the book. And I don't know if that's in the first book or if that's in another book, but they're doing that whole thing. And so you'd have to wonder like how famous he was, and if the interviewer was like, aware of him, not knowing he was a vampire. Because that's some fun stuff you could do. Like, if he was a fan and like went to a concert and was like, wait, really? That's who that is? Because they kind of foreshadow it a little bit when you've got that bit in the interview when Louis claims that Lestat came up with like a major riff that was used in the 70s or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like some just like classic song.
Yeah, like on the piano.
Yeah, he's gonna do Johnny Be Good. That's gonna be in season 2.
Lucy says the interview is over a few days. Yeah, but tell us specifically if you can remember if the two scenes we're talking about from episode 2 and 3, if there's time in between them. He puts in another $5 super chat and says seasons 1 and 2 are the first book and tell a complete story. If you don't want to commit to the whole shebang, season 3 is Rockstar Lestat. Okay, my mistake. I thought that was 2. So they do the whole initial book in 2 seasons, and then they're going to the sequels after that.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I assumed they were just still telling this first book in season 3. Okay. That makes more sense.
But now there's a part of me that wants it to be like How I Met Your Mother, where it just goes on like beyond any kind of reason.
The only thing is that we would need the voice for the main vampire to be completely different. And
yes.
Then in the finale, we just bring in that actor from the past to play him in the future, and it makes no sense.
That's awesome. Oh, I wanted to mention their effect for vampire burning in the sun is really good.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like a frost burn type thing.
Yeah, it looks like sand coming off you or something. Like, it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just like the way it smokes, like it reminded me of like just like a freeze type look. Like it's got an interesting look, like you said.
I did have some questions about powers. This is the last major point I'll make. I don't entirely understand how the time freezing thing works. Like, he's obviously not literally freezing time, but he's able to stop everyone in a room where, like, he makes them all freeze and then talk to Louis for a while and then have him start again. He's sort of like Xavier in the X-Men movies. So my question is he telepathic? Because it could be one of two things, and I think one makes more sense than the other. But is he telepathically... and can he concentrate hard enough to do that? Like, do you even buy that he can do this with, like, 15 people in a room? But is he telepathically telling them all to stop moving? Or is he somehow super speeding through a conversation and bringing the other vampire with him?
So I think it's that first thing.
Yeah.
I think it works the same way as how he gets everybody at that party to walk out. It's just as opposed to everybody leave. Just
that gave us more information about what he can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he seems to be like much more concentrated in that specific moment, but it's also with way more people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Well, remember they kept cutting back to it where we watched droves of people walk off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like 6 people at a poker game.
And then the other question I have is, are they going to incorporate his flying power at any point? Because he does that in the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I was wondering that too.
And I read somewhere that in the book, there's a flying sex scene. And I read a review that likes the show, but was complaining that they didn't do that. It was like... And this was hilarious because whoever wrote this was like that sex scene in the first episode, with the threesome with
like a DeviantArt review.
Yeah. Well, okay, but what this person was saying is, I can kind of get where she's coming. I think it was a female writer. I'm not sure, but I can kind of see where this person was coming from, because. I liked the rebuttal for, no, that's crazy. Because she goes, okay, look, if you think that's too wild, just go watch The Expanse, because they did it in The Expanse. And she goes, if they can do it there's no reason they can't do it here. Because The Expanse doesn't... I've only seen the pilot. I need to finally watch through that show. I really want to do that. But they do a lot of stuff with anti-gravity in that show. And apparently they do a sex scene, like, floating without gravity on a station or on a ship or something.
They need to do a bat sex scene. We just get to do bats having sex.
Oh, I thought you said a bad sex scene. I want them to do it, but ineffectively.
Yeah, ineffectively. Or just have two bats. That'd be cool.
But I thought the show did a good job of establishing powers gradually and not stopping too long for a lot of exposition and dialogue. But I also think it does a good job of not expecting the audience to already be too familiar with the rules, too. Like, they really walk that line nicely, because Anne Rice is largely considered to be kind of the foundation for a lot of vampire stuff, and a lot of other modern vampire things will act like they're kind of too cool for school when they bring up Anne Rice, where it's like, we're not like Anne Rice. And so, not like Buffy does that. There's other vampire things that are just like, oh, no, those Anne Rice vampires, here's how we're different, and here's why we're more interesting. And we break all the rules. But here, it's doing the traditional Anne Rice stuff, but presenting it like it could be your first time knowing about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it just falls under that kind of vampire thing where there's so many rules that you just kind of have to let them come as you go along. Where it's like, does this have, say, like you have to be welcomed in rule? No, I don't think so.
That one does not seem to be here. I don't know about garlic. That hasn't come up yet. I don't think we have anything about walking over water yet. Is that one in there?
No, I don't think so. But they can super speed like Jedi, though.
Now,
and more than the Jedi do.
Yes, that's true. Now, I have one more question about this now that yes. I'm remembering that I wanted to bring this up. So, I don't really understand the vampire, or like the sired vampire not being able to read the mind of the protege vampire thing. Is it just because he sired him, or what? Because we're told later that vampires can communicate telepathically over large distances.
So I assumed it was just that you can't read a vampire's mind, but you can like speak to a vampire's mind. Like if you like intentionally are doing that, but like you can't forcibly read their mind.
Do they ever do that with each other after he's sired?
Would they read each other's mind? I don't think so.
I mean, where they talk to each other telepathically. Because if you can give me an example, we'll know for sure you're right about this.
Yeah.
Because he does it a bunch before he turns him, but I cannot remember if it happens afterwards. Again, we only watched this.
And just have it like watching it like all in bulk. It's hard to remember. Like, has that scene after? I don't think so.
Okay, Joe, that's what I was thinking. Maybe it was. He said it is about the siring.
Okay, so it is specifically about them.
So you could do it with any other vampire, just not the one you sired or you were sired by. That's interesting.
Yeah, I guess I just misunderstood the exposition in that scene.
No, I don't think it makes it clear. That's why I was asking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, because I assumed it was just a vampire thing. Like, just it's part of that sacrifice of being
until
alive.
He says we can communicate at long distances with other vampires. Then I'm like, well, wait a minute. You just said you can't read each other's minds. So how does that work?
Yeah. No, for sure.
Thank you for clearing that up, Joe. Because that one was bugging me. As soon as that came up, I was like, wait a minute. Austin, anything else
like
about...
There's like a whole telepathic vampire MySpace going on and we don't even know.
Vampire MySpace? What else? Any other aspects about this that we didn't discuss that you want to talk about?
No, I feel like we covered most of it. Although I'm looking at the chat, uh, you read the last two super chats. Did you read that third one about the sexuality of rice vampires? I can't remember.
I read it in my head. I read it telepathically, and it actually informed some things I was talking about, but I don't think I ever actually read it out loud. So apologies.
No, I was just looking at it
to
again,
Joe.
and I was like, I don't remember.
So yeah, this actually was the thing I wanted to talk about when it came up, and then I forgot to get back to it. He said, Rice novel vampires are asexual. But vamp companionship is their equivalent to human romance. Also, the unreliable narrator gets very important later. Oh, I'm sure. They're laying that on pretty thick. That's going to be a major plot point. But that's what I was getting at, and I'm glad that you clarified that, Joe, because we were wondering how explicit the homosexuality is in the novel, and I've read things that claim that it's very explicit, and they're just straight up homosexual vampires. But, and again, I didn't know for sure because I haven't actually read the book, but the way I'd always heard it described before is that it's a very intimate sexual sort of relationship, but it's more about the vampirism, and that's what he's suggesting. So I keep thinking Lestat is so good of a manipulator that you can't begin to know what his actual sexuality is.
I mean, he basically kind of says that. There's a part where they're burning a body, and Louis like, oh, I'm homosexual, and Lestat's basically like, I don't judge. Like, I don't really care either way.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'll do anybody.
Well, and the thing is, just because he's jealous when Louis goes and has sex with another man does not mean that does not nail down his sexuality, because it's all about power for him, and he obviously. Well, I say obviously, he might on some level, kind of like and or respect this kid that he just sired. Mm-hmm. But it seems like it's more of a challenge for him than anything, where he's like, I did this to you because I knew you were going to make it difficult.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I think you could do it with anybody.
And then it'll be very interesting to see what it's like when he sires a female character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Because obviously, like you said, he'll do this with anybody.
Mm-hmm. He's a wacky fella. He's a rock star.
Apparently. He put in one more $5 super chat. I appreciate you a ton, man. So glad you enjoyed it, guys. Thanks for the discussion. Did Austin eat the baby? At the start of the show, he said that this was going to be just 70 minutes of me screaming at you, asking if you ate the baby.
I got my baby back ribs. That's right.
Was there any part of you that thought they'd go there?
No.
Me neither.
Immediately when it came up, I was like, there's no way. And that's not even like a judgment. Like, I'm glad it did go there, but at the same time, I'm like, there's no way.
This is one of those places where I just can't help but see through the production, where I'm looking at it and I'm like, they did it narratively, to create tension and keep the audience in suspense. They did it narratively perfectly, but they didn't get me with it. Where he picks up the baby. So he's talking about this would be his niece, right?
Yes.
So he picks up the baby, and the mother has left the room, and he's looking down and he's thinking about it, and we all know what he's thinking, and the teeth come out, and then she comes back in, and then later he's alone with the baby again, and then we cut, and then the interviewer just keeps asking him over and over again, "Did you eat the baby?" He won't tell him. Initially, I think just to keep the audience in suspense, and then eventually, finally, we get the answer, and that's correct. But I never for a minute thought that he actually did it.
No, I was more horrified that he left the baby on the floor.
I kept wondering if he dropped it because the baby screams bloody murder and the mother runs up the stairs and I'm like, okay, there's no way he ate the baby, but because I mean they could have done that where it's like they're trying to make you think that the baby is screaming because he's bit into it, but. Mm-hmm. I'm already pretty sure that's not what happened. And then she comes up the stairs, and then the baby's just lying on the floor, and I'm like, that baby could have a concussion. Like,
no, I
think are we supposed to believe that this hungry vampire that is not satiated, that really wants to bite into this baby, gently places it on the floor? And then runs off. Like, no! He dropped the baby, okay? There's no way that didn't happen. Well, what made it scream like that?
Maybe he put it on the couch and it rolled off.
Well, okay. It's less likely to have brain damage now.
Yeah, I was.
Like, you have to be really careful about the soft tissue in the back of the head, okay? Like... I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. No, it was wrapped in blankets. It was protected. It's like, you know, when you, like, put your phone or something in, like, cotton in a box and drop it off a roof to test if it'll break. It's like that. Like, it was wrapped enough.
She's just a crash test dummy?
Yeah. You have to test that
We
somehow.
got a good close-up on her face. She wasn't wrapped all the way up to the top of the head or anything. Like...
I mean, there was flaws in the design, but she was mostly wrapped.
You know what else
that mom also had 3 children, so like...
You know what else I really respect?
What's that?
They didn't CG the baby.
Because there are other vampire things that would.
They didn't go full Fantastic Four on this.
Full Twilight.
In a scene that I'll never understand how the audience I saw it with wasn't laughing hysterically like I was at the clearly fake, not remotely convincing computer-generated baby.
No, go look at the Twilight baby. It's like one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. It looks like Gollum.
It's less forgivable to me in a $200 million Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I didn't know about that with Twilight.
Bad there, but at least looks a little better.
Anyway, well, everybody thinks
awkward with the Fantastic Four baby as well. Sorry, is just the
It's every time.
But we like hand it off to the Thing at one point, and it's very obviously CG, and it's like, just have a real baby and don't hand it to the CGI character. But anyways.
Yeah, no, I know! That's what I said! Joe, there should have been a scene where Lestat uses vampire speed to save a baby from a microwave.
Now we're talking. Well, no, he put the baby and he wrapped it up in the microwave and then dropped the microwave.
Hey, it would have been better in this because... they would have had the artistic integrity to use a real baby, at least in the close-ups.
No, in the microwave.
Not in the microwave.
Well, they turn it on for a second. It's fine.
I'm sure you could rig that up in such a way where you could have a light on, but not actually have the microwave on, and then just, like, have a thing that could spin the tray. Like, you could make it look like there was a real baby in a microwave without actually putting a baby in a microwave. Even then, you probably wouldn't want to put the baby in the microwave. You'd probably have to make, like, a really big microwave. Like, prop.
If they did a shot where the microwave was on and the baby was spinning, it would that movie would have had to have been out for like 3 seconds for me to make an edit of "You spin me right round" over that shot.
Next week, Victor has asked us to review Do the Right Thing, which I've never seen. Are you aware of that movie?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
That's a real critically acclaimed, I think, early 90s movie.
Yeah, for some reason my mind immediately went to, was it Pay It Forward, which is not the same movie. So that's why for a second I was like, have I? No.
Yeah, that's a big Siskel and Ebert movie, I think. Do the Right Thing. So I've heard it discussed, but I've never actually watched it. So looking forward to that. And in the meantime, if you watching right now would like to make a request for this show, you can go to patreon.com/geekvolution, and the $15 tier makes that possible. You only have to subscribe for 1 month, and we'll get it in the queue. Thanks to everybody who sticks around on that tier. But you only have to do it for the 1 month, and you can put in a request for a movie. Make it something we haven't reviewed. That'd be good. And a TV show pilot, and like with tonight, we'll do the next episode or two, and 6 issues or so, or equivalent of comics. Make it a graphic novel, or a miniseries, or an arc. And in the meantime, we will see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks. Oh, tomorrow night, The Mask on the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. Pop in for that, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
And get ready, because the one after is going to be huge. One that you never thought we would do, but we finally are getting to it.
Don't get too excited. You don't know for sure which one it's going to be yet. That poll's not closed.
That is true, but either way, all 4 of them are really big movies.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you later.